Troy Kearns, real estate investor today, and I want to talk about something that most people are probably going to have an opinion about, right? Why is Howard Schultz a freaking sellout? This guy's name keeps coming up all the time. He's worth like $4.3 billion, and you're wondering, Troy, what the heck does Howard Schultz being a sellout have to do with real estate? At one point in time, I actually was inspired by him. So this is really well thought out, and I want to talk to you about it specifically and why it's important to keep hold of your principles and ideals. And this is why he'll never be elected as a president. Nobody will ever elect him because they just don't believe a word this guy says. So what's my bone to pick with Howard Schultz? Am I looking for like clickbait? No. So if you don't know who Howard Schultz is, right? If you don't know who the hell Howard Schultz is, then you have been living under a rock, and I am sorry, but have you heard of this company? It's a very small company, Starbucks, right? They're on every freaking corner. They're more popular than your bank. They're more popular than McDonald's right now. Starbucks is started by Howard Schultz. So why do I say he's a sellout? Well, he wrote a book, and the book was called Pour Your Heart Into It. And Howard Schultz, if you guys didn't know, he didn't even start Starbucks. So that wasn't even his original idea. It was started by a bunch of guys in Pike Place Market in downtown Seattle, who he was actually a manufacturer rep for like a machine that sold coffee. And Howard Schultz didn't even have an original idea of his own other than what he knew about coffee was that, listen, I can make this into a product. I can sell this product. I'm passionate about it. He definitely was passionate about it, but the whole world did not know that he was gonna be a big sellout. And why that's not a good thing, right? If you're gonna be a rich guy, you don't wanna be known as a sellout. It's not a positive term. It's not one I'm using as a term of endearment when I speak about Howard Schultz. I do think he's a fantastically smart guy, but I think that he is a businessman who doesn't put his values and principles ahead of his business. And that reason makes him a freaking sellout. So first of all, you might be talking about, you know what, Troy, it's obvious you're bitter that he bought the Seattle SuperSonics and he promised to be a good owner, invest a bunch of money, and then he sold them in the cloak of darkness to the Oklahoma Thunder. And it was a big news that went down in Seattle and nobody liked it, and Howard Schultz did it, and that's one of the biggest reasons. Yes, I'm gonna start with that. That's one of the biggest reasons that Howard Schultz is a sellout, and one of the biggest sellouts, because you know what he did? He does this all the time. He's told everybody, hey, I'm not selling the Sonics. I'm gonna reinvest all this money in the Sonics, and you know what he did? He sold them out for a big bunch of money, and now he's telling everybody, hey, guess what, guys? I wanna bring the Sonics back, and but no one believes him, and that's why I started this video, because I don't believe you, Howard. We don't believe you. You are a sellout, right? You sold the Seattle SuperSonics. Nobody even knows. I talked to one of our girls today who works for me, who's from Seattle, and I said, do you remember the Seattle SuperSonics? She's like, who's that? Who's that? He erased history. Good job, Schultz. He erased history because he's a freaking sellout. And you know what? It didn't surprise me at all. When he sold the Seattle SuperSonics, I had actually got done reading one of his books. Dude, just read the book because you're gonna laugh. He says, with Starbucks, and this is probably why if you're searching for the book right now, because we just did, you're not gonna be able to find it, right? Because literally everything he said that he wasn't gonna do in there, he is now doing, right? I am not going to put my coffee in a convenience store. Have you ever been to a 7-Eleven or any modern day convenience store and noticed that Starbucks has a huge shelf at the convenience store, right? They may even be the coffee of choice at that convenience store. Sell out coffee, and I don't care. I have no care about him doing it. But the point is, he said he wasn't gonna do it, and he did it anyways because he's a sellout, just like he sold out the Sonics. Now, another thing he tells, I will never, ever, ever put my coffee on an airplane because I cannot be certain that it will be served the same way that it is served at our stores. And because of quality control, I cannot let this coffee be served on an airplane. unless they pay me enough money. And then of course, all of that BS that I just talked about doesn't really freaking matter because I'm a sellout and whatever you got is for sale. The suit, for sale. The speaker on my clip, for sale. Phone, sale. Sellout, right? So Howard Schultz is a freaking sellout, right? So when you get into business and you're wondering like, why don't people trust me, right? Why do people not trust me? Because you don't say what you do and you don't do what you say. And that's what makes you a sellout, and there's a price for everything, we get it. But if you say one thing and do another, you're not a trustworthy guy, trustworthy gal, and we don't think that Howard Schultz words really even matter. That's why we're talking about it, because lately he's been talking about why can I get traction when I make a run for president? You know why? Because we know he's a sellout. We know he doesn't stand for nothing, and we know whatever he's doing, he's got other motives, other things that he's after, and he's just telling you what you want to hear. Doesn't that sound so interesting? People telling you what you want to hear. I'm not trying to tell you what you want to hear. In fact, if you like Howard Schultz and if you like Starbucks, you may say, Troy, you're ignorant, you're freaking obnoxious. I didn't sell the SuperSonics, he did. Got my Sean Kemp jersey still, man. I love the freaking Seattle SuperSonics. And for a guy who is got all of his glory from moving to Seattle, if you know his story, and I do because I read the book, he moved from New York after playing college basketball in like Michigan somewhere, right? He moved to Seattle after working at a small coffee store, and Seattle embraced him. That's where Starbucks started. Everybody knows that, right? Starbucks started in Seattle. He bought the company. It wasn't his invention. He took his vision, he implemented it, and he rolled out coffee, and coffee has never been the same. But if you haven't watched our video on guilt tripping, we're gonna explain why he sold us out to everybody. He sold out the Sonics, and guess why you're paying tip money? Because Howard Schultz put his problem in front of you. He said, you know what, go ahead and put that tip bucket up there. If these people want to tip after they spend $5 on a cup of coffee, we're gonna allow it. Howard Schultz is now so commercialized that he reports to stockholders and he will sell anything out because he's a publicly traded company, and that's what they do. They sell everything out. And you know what? When he owned the Seattle SuperSonics, he sold them out. And if he runs for the United States Congress, government, whatever he's doing, he'll sell us out. Why am I even talking about it? Because you know what? I felt that it was a topic that is relevant to understanding who you do business with, right? If you're gonna do business with Starbucks, understand that the guy who profits most from doing that business doesn't stay behind his principles, that the coffee you're drinking may not even be as pure as the driven snow as you used to think it was, because everything he started that company with, every principle that he actually said he was going to stick by, he didn't. He's changed his mind. He sold out for a bigger profit. He justified it with a reason, like saying, oh, well, you know what, now they can put these coffee on the airplanes because I figured out a way to get it there, and now I'm okay with selling it out. So the fact of the matter is that he just did it for more money, just like he sold the Seattle SuperSonics. And if you're not a sellout, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Peace.